So welcome back everybody. In today's episode, I'm gonna show you how to make some delicious and super simple venison jerky. This recipe will also work for ground beef if that's what you prefer. The ultimate key is get as lean a meat as possible. That's why I love using venison. You do not want fat when you're making jerky. It's not gonna cure properly, and you don't want all the fat juices and drippings coming out as well. Now the recipe I'm going to show you today, you can also do sliced meat as well. Not my preferred method. You have to do a 24-hour cure with the seasonings that I'm doing if you use sliced meat, plus the texture is all kinds of wrong. We're using ground meat today because the texture is consistent. It cures consistently, especially with the way that I'm going to show you what I use this device right here to shoot it out. It chews up easier. Trust me, ground meat's the way to go, and you can pick up grinders for relatively cheap if you want to start doing this for the own meat that you harvest or bring home. Otherwise, you can pick up ground meat at your local butcher. So I've been making this recipe for years. People brag on it. Trust me, it tastes so good. This is the one you want to use. Let me show you my setup right here and how we're going to make it. So I've had this old Nesco dehydrator for many years, and I think this model's still current, even though I've had this a long time. The one thing I like about this model is you can buy extra trays, which I have, and just continue to stack them in here. They're about 1 inch thick, because I like to do at least 5 pounds of meat at a time because, well, all the cleanup and everything else that I have to do. Plus, we eat through this jerky so fast. Get you a bowl so you can mix up your curing salt and seasonings. This right here is what I use. Get the original. Trust me, it tastes perfect. This is how simple it is. I've tried mixing up my own curing salts and seasonings before. This is the kit to get. I get mine right off of Amazon. I'll put a link in the description, and it tastes phenomenal. So as you can see, it says it'll do up to 18 pounds of meat. You can do sliced jerky, kind of like you see here, or the ground meat, which is what I prefer. Don't forget, ground meat, you can actually put straight in the dehydrator same day. Sliced meat requires a 24-hour basically cure or soak in the seasoning, so to speak. So you're gonna have to do that overnight. You're gonna need a scale because it is critical that you get the right poundage of meat for the right seasonings. You do not want to over-cure or under-cure with those salts your meat. You want to make sure you stick with what the box says. That's very important. I just picked up this jerky shooter right here. This is brand new. First time I'm trying it. I've always used a cheap little plastic one in the past. This holds a lot more meat. Everything looks better for cleaning or dishwashing. And this is the nozzle you want to use right here. That flat strip nozzle. This gives you a consistent piece of meat. It shoots the jerky out basically in thin sticks that you can just break up. But the key is you're not going to undercure or basically over dry your meat, because whenever you hand slice, you'll wind up with, well, lots of different thicknesses. Everything comes out the same thickness with this. It also comes with this nozzle if you prefer sticks, although that's getting a bit thick. Cure times may take longer with a thick stick like that to cure all the way to the middle, or excuse me, to dehydrate or dry out. And then down here in the sink, you're gonna need a mixing bowl because we have to mix all the seasonings in. And I have 2 packs of venison right here with no fat added. Now what I'm gonna do is turn on my scale, then I'll zero my scale out, and I do the bowl or something raised so whenever my packs of meats droop over, they don't actually touch the cutting board or the countertop or the scale itself, giving me an inaccurate weight. So here's our ground meat. We recently got a deer here on the property, and we harvested and butchered that ourselves. If you're interested in that, I'll put that video at the end of this one. You may enjoy that type of content. But we ground up several packs of meat with no fat added, and then we ground up several packs with brisket fat added, and we use those for burgers. We actually had some last night. They tasted excellent. So I just grabbed 2 packs out. I need to see how much meat and weight is in here. So we're 5 pounds and, well, pretty much 15 ounces, so right at 6 pounds. So you'll notice in here, this actually does 2 pounds at a time. Each pack of seasoning does 2 pounds, and then you'll do 1 pack of cure with it. So based on that being right at 6 pounds of meat, we're gonna need 3 packs of both seasoning and cure. And if you read right here, it says mix 2 pounds of ground meat with 1 packet of seasoning and cure. Then form into your strips, use your dehydrator, or you can even use an oven if you don't have a dehydrator. So this is where the bowl comes into play. We're gonna put all 6 packs in here, the 3 packs of seasoning, the 3 packs of cure, and then I like to mix it all together. It's not uncommon for there to be little balls of seasoning in here. We wanna make for sure we get those busted up as well before we go to mixing. All right, I like to just mix all this up for quite a while, get it nice and consistent. A lot of mixing in this process. That's about the most complicated part. That just clean up afterwards. All right, so here's why I like the bowl method. I can actually come in here and just put a little on. And then we're gonna mix, 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 and I'm just gonna keep slowly adding the cure and the seasoning into the meat. Go ahead and add quite a bit more. You definitely cannot overmix. You wanna make for sure you get plenty of this cured seasoning into this meat. Fold your meat over too, press down in. That really helps. We want to get all this incorporated in as good as we can. So now it's time for the messy part. We got to load up our jerky shooter here. So you just pull that back. Now we're just going to pack this tube with meat. You can pack it from both ends if you'd like. Or if you have a plunger, like I do, we can pack from one end and just push it down. All right, that's about as far as we can go. I love how much meat you can get in this tube compared to the last one of these I had. Start squeezing our handle. And just shoot our strips out, see them on the racks. Don't worry about making the size strips that you want right now because we will break these in half later and bag everything up. All right, there's one tray done. And I like to leave room because don't forget, air has to flow through each and every rack. So if you pack it in there really tight, I feel like it really messes with the drying process. Now make sure you just let the meat kind of fall out on the tray. Don't press the nozzle down and actually shoot the meat into the ridges of the tray. Then whenever it dries, it tends to stick on you if you do that. If you just let the meat kind of fall down like this, just barely sit on top of these trays, I don't find that you have much issue at all popping the meat off when the drying process is done. Okay, we have 7 packed full trays. This is gonna make quite a bit of jerky right here. All we've gotta do is put our lid on, plug it in, it'll automatically start, then we adjust the temperature. There's a dial up here, and for meat, we're gonna do at 160 degrees, which is max setting for this. Now here's the key, depending on how thick you have the meat, how much you load this up, be prepared for this to take 6, maybe even 8 hours. But we're not as concerned about time as we are texture and dryness. So I'll come out around the 4 or 5 hour mark and start checking. I also want to rotate my trays. I don't know that you necessarily have to do that because the air is blowing all the way through and out the bottom, but I like to do that. So every hour, I'll come out here, take the tray off the top, put it on the bottom, basically just moving the bottom trays all the way up to the top. So by the time I'm done dehydrating, I have done cycled through all the trays, the bottoms, tops, all the way to the bottom. Again, you may not have to do that. It's just something I've always done for consistency. Now I'm just giving you random suggestions here. Whenever it comes to food and things like this, make sure you follow the instructions to make sure your stuff is nice and safe. But I do what's called a bend test on my jerky, and that's how I've always known to pull it off and when it's ready. Okay, so here we are right at 7 hours later. Like I said, it typically takes between 6 to 8 hours at 160 degrees, which is as high as this machine will run, and what's recommended for meat. And it really depends on how heavy you load your trays down. I normally fit 5 pounds in here. I crammed 6 pounds in here. So I'm not shocked that it took about an hour longer than normal. Now here's how I know that mine is done. And I'm not saying this is the right way. Follow whatever recommendations you want. Some people really undercook their jerky. To me, I think you're taking a heck of a risk right there with something not curing properly. Some people overcook it to the point that it's almost like crispy bacon. I don't go that far, but I like to make sure my stuff is nice and safe. All right, so if we take this top off here, you can take a look at what this looks like. Dried meat, jerky. So how do we know when this stuff is done? By the way, let me show you how it just pops right off. It'll be stuck in there just a little, but comes up relatively easy. That looks like jerky to me. I came out here about an hour ago and I took a few pieces out and I bent it. And if it, let's show you on the front. If it doesn't start cracking like that, I don't consider it done. Basically, the bend test is telling you if there's still a lot of moisture in the meat. If you can bend it and fold it all the way over on itself and it doesn't show any signs of cracking, starting to crack a little here. To me, that is not done. Some people are okay with risking it and taking their jerky off an hour or two earlier than me. I don't recommend it. This is a little chewier, but if I can bend and see some cracks just like that, to me, that is about perfect. You can take it further than this if you would like. Oh, this room smells so good. I'm telling you, there's something about this original flavor that's just awesome. Now, it's still tender enough, don't get me wrong. Some of the edges and tips are a bit hard, kind of like normal jerky. The inside's kind of a little soft, like your bag jerky that you get. I'm telling you, the flavor's perfect. Now, if you're one of them hot and spicy people or teriyaki fanatics, I totally get it. You're gonna wanna go with that. But if you just like a mild, original flavor, I can taste a tiny little bit of spice. And y'all, don't let me scare you, it's not spicy at all. I hate spice. There's just something about the smell of this, the texture is absolutely perfect. So now what I'll do is I'll just pull all these pieces off. You can just pop them in half like this, and I'll put them in vacuum seal bags, and I like to put mine in the freezer. What we're gonna eat over the next few days, I like to stick in the refrigerator. You can store yours however you want, but to me, keeping them cool just makes it that much safer for me. And these will actually keep quite a while in the freezer. Then all you do is just pop a bag out, and it doesn't have to be vacuum seal bags. I used to put them in freezer bags, Ziploc bags. Pop it out, thaw some out, go to town and start chewing away. All right, so now the cool part, after all this hard work, just go ahead and put you some bags. Now I have way too big of bags, but I buy these in bulk. They're at a really good price. Clean your hands, and then just start popping pieces apart. I like strips about that long. Just fill your bag up, and into the freezer we go. As you can see, this stuff's coming up nice and easy. Yes, there is a little bit of a mess on these racks. You can hand wash them. I believe these may also be dishwasher safe. Don't quote me on that. I typically hand wash. All right, so that's a good snack size bag right there. Now over in my chamber sealer, let's seal it up. All right, there we go, our first pack of awesome jerky to head in the freezer. We're gonna make about 5 to 6 more of those. All right, I got several more racks to go through, bag it all up. Of course, we're gonna save some to chew on over the next couple of days. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I'm telling you, try this. Ground meat, a jerky shooter, and those Nesco seasonings. Oh, it makes the best jerky ever. Doesn't have to be venison, just get a lean beef, but venison is absolutely the way to go, in my opinion. Thanks for watching, hopefully you enjoyed it.